Every town has its secrets, but Oakridge buried theirs in a shallow grave. On the surface, Felicia Browning was the perfect mother, devoted, meticulous, controlling. Until the day she came home early and found her husband in bed with the one person she never suspected. What happened next would shatter their picture-perfect life into a million bloody pieces. This is the tragedy of the Browning family. Welcome to Vic's Crime Stories. We uncover chilling crime stories. You might think you know this story, but trust me, you don't. Oakridge, Arkansas, a town so small the sidewalks remembered every footstep, where front porch gossip traveled faster than the afternoon breeze. Here, under the endless stretch of blue sky, the Browning family lived in a house so polished, so meticulously kept, it might as well have been a museum. Felicia Browning made sure of that. Every dish had its place. Every pillow sat just so. Even the air smelled like lemons and order. But houses like that, they hold more than furniture. They hold secrets. Felicia was the kind of woman who ironed her grocery lists. She kept spreadsheets for birthday gifts, color-coded by priority. Her daughter Ella's future was mapped out in perfect, unshakable ink. College, career, a life so tidy it could have been wrapped in cellophane. And Sam? Sam was the steady hand, the quiet force, the man who built things for a living but never seemed to fix what was breaking at home. From the outside, they were the family you envied. The kind you pointed to and said, "Why can't we be like that?" But let me tell you something about perfect families. The cracks don't start with an earthquake. They start with a whisper. Like the way Felicia would pause just a second too long when she hugged Ella, like she was trying to press her back into childhood. Or the way Sam's laughter sounded a little too loud at the dinner table, like he was compensating for something nobody else could hear. And Ella, oh Ella, 18 years old with a smile that didn't reach her eyes anymore. She'd started locking her bedroom door. Started wearing long sleeves in July. Started flinching when her mother reached for her. Little things. The kind you don't notice until it's too late. Then there were the phone calls. The ones Felicia pretended not to hear when Sam thought she was asleep. The hushed conversations that ended the moment she walked into the room. And the texts, always the texts. Ella's phone lighting up in the dark, her fingers flying across the screen before the notification even finished buzzing. One night, Felicia found a receipt in Sam's jacket pocket. A motel. Just 20 minutes away. Date night, he'd said. Working late, he'd said. But the receipt was for a weekday. A school night. She should have asked. She should have screamed. Instead, she folded the paper neatly and slipped it back where she found it. Because that's the thing about people who control everything. When they finally lose their grip, they don't make a sound. Not yet, anyway. Then came the Thursday that changed everything. Felicia was supposed to be at work until 6. But the universe has a funny way of intervening when the pieces are about to fall. A misplaced decimal in a client's report sent her home early, her heels clicking against the pavement with the kind of rhythm that only comes from irritation. When she pulled into the driveway, Sam's truck was already there. But the front door was unlocked. Odder. And then, the sound. A laugh. Ella's laugh. But not the one Felicia knew. This was lower. Richer. The kind of laugh that belonged to someone else's daughter. Upstairs, the bedroom door was closed. Felicia's fingers hovered over the knob. Some part of her already knew. Some part of her had always known. She turned the handle. And what she saw, what she really saw, wasn't just a betrayal. It was the end of everything. The morning it happened began like any other in the Browning household. The sun poured through the kitchen windows as Felicia moved through her routine with mechanical precision. She packed Sam's lunch, a turkey sandwich, sliced diagonally, just how he liked it. She tucked a note between the napkins. "Miss you already." The words looked back at her, hollow and unread, because Sam hadn't touched one of these notes in months. Across the table, Ella pushed her food around her plate. "Not hungry, Mom," she muttered, eyes fixed on her phone screen. Felicia didn't miss the way her daughter's thumb hesitated over a new message before typing a reply. A second later, the phone buzzed again. Ella's breath hitched, just slightly, before she silenced it. What Felicia couldn't see was the name on the screen. Pool closed. Home early. Yes. A simple exchange. Innocent, if you didn't know better. But some words carry weight far beyond their letters. The clock in Felicia's office ticked louder than usual that afternoon. Numbers blurred together on her screen, columns of figures that refused to add up. When her boss called her in, she almost welcomed the distraction. "We need you to fix this before end of day," he said, sliding a file across his desk. Felicia nodded, already calculating how long it would take. She didn't know it yet, but this small interruption, this tiny ripple in her schedule, would unravel everything. Her key turned in the lock at 2:47 p.m. The house should have been empty. But Sam's truck sat in the driveway, engine still warm. Felicia stood very still in the foyer. A sound drifted down from upstairs, not quite laughter, not quite speech, but something in between. The kind of noise that slips through lips when they think no one else can hear. Her heels made no sound on the carpet as she climbed. The bedroom door was closed. From behind it came another sound, the rhythmic creak of bed springs. Slow at first, then faster. Felicia's hand rose without her permission. The knob turned smoothly under. Blood pooled dark and thick on the hardwood. Sam's mouth moved, but Felicia couldn't hear him over the roaring in her ears. One question would torment her for the rest of her life. Had she pushed? Or had Ella simply fallen? The truth died with the girl on the floor. The prison walls had stopped feeling cold after 7 years. Felicia Browning had grown accustomed to their unyielding presence, just as she'd grown accustomed to the weight of her guilt. It sat with her at breakfast, walked beside her in the yard, whispered to her in the dark when the other inmates were asleep. Some nights, when the prison was quiet enough, she could almost hear Ella's laughter drifting through the bars. Not the nervous giggle of those last terrible months, but the bright, bubbling joy of childhood. The parole board called her case complicated. The newspapers called her a monster. The other inmates called her Mom, though none dared say it to her face. Felicia herself hadn't spoken the word mother since the trial. What right did she have to claim that title now? On visiting days, she watched other women clutch at their children through the glass. The way their fingers pressed against the barrier, desperate to feel just one more touch. Felicia never had visitors. Sam had moved to Florida, or so she'd heard. Started a new life with a woman from his construction crew. He'd sent one letter years ago, not asking for forgiveness, just telling her he'd scattered Ella's ashes in the ocean. Felicia had burned the letter without finishing it. The house on Maple Street stood empty now. The neighbors said it was haunted, though no one could agree by what. Some claimed to see a young girl's face in the upstairs window at twilight. Others swore they heard a woman sobbing in the master bedroom on stormy nights. The realtor couldn't give it away, not even after slashing the price 3 times. In her cell, Felicia kept exactly one photograph. It showed Ella at 10 years old, grinning with missing front teeth, arms wrapped around a too big teddy bear she'd won at the county fair. The edges were frayed from years of handling. Sometimes, when the guards weren't looking, Felicia would trace the outline of her daughter's face with her fingertip, remembering how warm that cheek had felt under her palm. The prison chaplain asked her once if she regretted what she'd done. Felicia had stared at him for a long moment before answering. "Every second," she'd said. "But not for the reasons you think." She never explained what she meant. Some truths are too heavy to speak aloud. Outside, the world moved on. New families moved into Oakridge, their children riding bikes past the Browning house without knowing its history. Seasons changed. Flowers bloomed and died in the empty window boxes. The mailbox slowly rusted shut. Inside Felicia's mind, time worked differently. She still saw Ella everywhere, in the way a younger inmate tilted her head when listening, in the scent of strawberry shampoo wafting from the showers, in the occasional snatch of a pop song Ella had loved drifting from someone's radio. These moments were both punishment and gift, keeping alive a daughter who should have had decades left. The warden called Felicia a model prisoner. She followed every rule, caused no trouble, attended all required programs. What no one understood was that this wasn't rehabilitation. This was her sentence. To wake each morning knowing what she'd done. To breathe when Ella could not. To grow old while her child remained forever 18. On the anniversary each year, Felicia requested solitary confinement. She'd sit in the bare cell, knees drawn to her chest, and whisper all the things she wished she'd said. The apologies. The confessions. The simple, ordinary words mothers and daughters exchange without thinking. Pass the salt. I like your hair like that. Sweet dreams. The photo of Ella went with her everywhere, even to the prison laundry, tucked safely in her pocket. One day, a new inmate, young enough to be Ella's twin, asked why she carried it. Felicia's hands stilled in the soapy water. So I never forget, she said at last, what love really looks like. And when the lights went out at night, when the prison settled into its uneasy sleep, Felicia would lie on her thin mattress and stare at the ceiling. Somewhere beyond these walls, beyond the razor wire and checkpoints, ordinary families were tucking in their children, whispering goodnights, never imagining how fragile it all was. How one moment could shatter everything. Felicia knew. That was her life now, knowing. The price of survival when others did not. The weight of a daughter's name that would never be spoken aloud again in love, only in whispers and rumors and late-night ghost stories. Ella. The guards would find her sometimes in the early hours, sitting on the edge of her bunk, that worn photograph clutched in both hands. They never asked what she was thinking. Some silences are too deep to disturb. Outside, the wind would howl through the prison yard, carrying with it the echoes of all the things left unsaid, all the moments that might have been, all the love that had curdled into something too terrible to name. And in that empty house on Maple Street, the bedroom window would rattle softly in its frame, as if someone or something was still waiting to come home. If you found this story important, share it. Let more people see what really happens. And if you want to hear more true crime cases like this, hit that subscribe button. There are more stories out there, some waiting to be told, others still unfolding. This was Vic's True Crime Stories. See you next time.